How we live is how we die. She prayed as follows. The healing presence is right where my mother is. I now project in my own mind the image of wholeness, harmony, and perfect health for my mother. The doctors are divinely guided and directed, and whoever touches my mother is guided to do the right thing. Joseph Murphy, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
I read somewhere that people always ask why bad people have good lives whilst good people suffer. The author explained something that changed how I see everything. What we do today affects our lives maybe 10 or 20 years from now. People behaving badly now but living well might be harvesting good deeds from decades ago. Those sowing bad seeds today will reap what they're planting, even if they don't remember planting it. The same principle applies to health, sickness, and death. I've learned to say, how you live is how you're going to die. My family taught me this lesson in the most painful way possible. My mum beat cancer the first time with incredible strength and determination. She fought like a warrior and won. 10 years of healthy, happy life followed. Then I started working at a life insurance company, and she wanted me to get her coverage. The company insisted on comprehensive testing first. After reviewing her results, they delivered their verdict. We can't take that risk and insure her. My mum was devastated. Although she never saw the actual test results, she became convinced this meant she was already sick again or soon would be. I watched her program herself for failure. She went from being a cancer survivor with unshakable faith to someone expecting death's return. And that's exactly what happened. The second cancer came, but this time she'd lost her fighting spirit. The insurance company's rejection had planted a seed of doom that grew into her reality. We also had a small black dog named Bombell. He was a free spirit, and I always saw him as a dog who longed to fly, always barking at birds, even jumping through windows trying to reach them. My sister adored him more than anyone. One day I came home to unusual quiet. "Aren't you asking about Bombell?" my mum said. She was already very sick by then. A car had run him over whilst my sister was walking him. He'd broken free and run straight under the wheels. I was furious with my sister at first, until I realized her trauma was far worse. She'd witnessed it with her own eyes. Desperate to find meaning in the loss, I told my mum that maybe Bombell had died so she could live. She asked if I really believed that, and when I said yes, she clung to that hope. She wanted to stay alive. But I was wrong. The morning she died, her final question haunts me still. What is going to happen with me now? I went to work, then to teach guitar. My sister and her boyfriend found me. That is the end. I rushed home and held her hand as she passed, surrounded by family, my 2 sisters, her parents, all of us together. But both Bombell and my mum were gone. There had been no trade, no spiritual bargain. Just 2 deaths that belief and fear had helped create. My godmother's story followed the same pattern. She was in hospital with final stage cancer when I sent her a card saying I remembered her, and that if she believed hard enough, she might recover. She died days later, though I was told she loved receiving it. Her son had been one of my 2 cousins killed in those terrible car accidents years earlier. More family lost, more questions about why some are taken whilst others are spared. Then came my father's turn to create his own ending. After my mum died, he immediately stopped smoking, something she'd begged him to do whilst alive. But grief led him to drink heavily and avoid exercise. He became overweight, his body retaining fluid until one heart chamber stopped working properly. The first time doctors said his arteries needed cleaning, he refused the procedure. He was afraid he might die during surgery. 4 years later, back in hospital in far worse condition, they gave him an ultimatum. Have the surgery or die within weeks. This time he agreed, but it was too late. He died during the procedure he'd feared for so long. Again, he'd created his reality through belief and expectation. The night before his surgery, I called him. His voice held no hope, and being sensitive to energy, I absorbed his despair. The next day, instead of staying focused on sending him positive thoughts, I buried myself in physical work, helping operators with tasks I should have delegated. Maybe I didn't want to think about what was happening. Then came the call from my brother-in-law. My father was gone. Later, reading Joseph Murphy's book, I discovered a prayer for distant healing. Murphy taught that we can help heal others through focused prayer and positive visualization. The prayer speaks of projecting wholeness and harmony, of doctors being divinely guided, of aligning with love and life rather than fear and death. I'd forgotten this teaching when my father needed it most. Instead of praying for his successful surgery and recovery, I'd let my sensitivity to his hopelessness pull me into the same dark expectation. 3 family deaths, 3 examples of how belief creates reality. My mom, programmed by insurance rejection to expect cancer's return. My father, first refusing treatment from fear, then accepting it without hope. My godmother, fighting to the end but overwhelmed by the disease's progression. Each death taught me something crucial about how we participate in creating our own endings. Not through guilt or blame, but through understanding the power of expectation, belief, and the energy we project into medical situations. We don't just die from diseases. We die from how we think about diseases, how we approach treatment, what we expect from procedures, and whether we align with fear or faith when facing the ultimate test. The insurance company didn't just refuse my mom coverage, they sentenced her to death through the power of institutional authority. Her mind accepted their professional assessment as fact. My father didn't just have blocked arteries, he had blocked hope. Fear of the surgery helped create the outcome he feared most. I've learned that when someone we love faces medical crisis, our job isn't to absorb their fear or avoid thinking about their situation. Our job is to hold unwavering vision of their perfect health, to pray for divine guidance for their medical team, and to align ourselves with love and life rather than accepting defeat. Murphy was right. We can help heal others through prayer, but we can also participate in their decline through shared fear and negative expectation. Now I understand why my grandmother's dream was so important. When she saw my deceased mother with my dead cousins, the message wasn't about trading lives or spiritual bargains. It was about continuation, protection, and the love that transcends physical death. They are with me. Robert is safe now. Not safe because others died for me, but safe because I've learned to choose faith over fear, hope over despair, healing prayers over helpless worry. The way we live, our thoughts, beliefs, and expectations, truly is how we die. But here's what I've discovered about why we program ourselves for death, even when we know better. I know I should think positively, eat healthy, exercise, sleep well, avoid sugar and alcohol. I tell myself I'm staying alive until 250, that I stopped aging at 35. I talk like a 35-year-old, stay creative to keep my brain young, remain curious about everything. Yet sometimes I feel tired, and exactly the age my passport says. This happens especially when people around me start dying. I catch myself thinking about the end of my life, and the longer I stay in this state, the more difficult it becomes to feel young again. This is why we program ourselves for death. Because loss surrounds us and pulls us into the collective belief that aging and dying are inevitable. When everyone around us accepts decline, our minds start accepting it too. The insurance company didn't just refuse my mother, they represented society's realistic expectations about cancer survivors. My father didn't just fear surgery, he absorbed the cultural belief that older people don't survive medical procedures. We program ourselves for death because it feels safer to expect the worst than to hope for the best and be disappointed. Because society teaches us that being realistic means accepting limitation and decline. But I've learned that choosing life, really choosing it, every day, despite the evidence of loss around us, is the most radical act of faith we can perform. It's also how we help others live.